Ayan woke up before dawn, lying on the cold desert sand. For a moment, he thought everything had been a dream. But his clothes were covered with dust, his eyes were swollen from crying, and his heart felt strangely awake, like something inside him had been shaken hard. He stood slowly and looked around. The desert was calm now. No shadows, no whispers, only the soft sound of wind. Yet, fear had not completely left him. It had changed its shape. As he walked back toward the town, one thought repeated in his mind: the battle is not over. That day, Ayan tried to return to his normal life. He took a shower, prayed far after a long time, and sat quietly in his room. The prayer felt heavy but honest. He did not feel happiness. He felt responsibility. From that day onward, strange things began to happen, not outside, but inside him. When he tried to pray, his mind attacked him. What's the point? You will fail again. This change won't last. These voices were not loud like the whispers in the desert. They were calm, logical, and dangerous. Ayan soon realized something terrifying. The shadows had not disappeared. They had moved into his thoughts. Days passed. Nights became harder. Whenever he closed his eyes, memories returned. Sins he thought Allah would never forgive, moments he felt ashamed of, words he wished he could take back. The horror now was emotional and psychological. One night, Ayan woke up suddenly, unable to breathe. His chest felt tight, as if someone was sitting on him. His room was dark, but he felt watched. He tried to move. He couldn't. Fear flooded his body. Then he remembered. Allah is with the believers. With great effort he whispered, Audu billahi min ash-shaytan rajim. The pressure slowly lifted. Ayan sat up, shaking. Sweat covered his face. He understood now. This was the invisible war. Surah Al-Anfal was not only about a physical battle. It was about discipline, obedience, patience, and trust when fear surrounds you. At the Battle of Badr, the believers did not win because of numbers or weapons. They won because their hearts were connected to Allah. Ayan looked at himself. His heart was still weak. And the test had just begun. The next morning, trouble arrived. Ayan received an email from his main foreign client. The project he depended on was cancelled. No warning. No explanation. His income was gone. Panic returned like a storm. This is what happens when you become religious, a voice inside him said. Look what you lost. Anger mixed with fear. Ayan clenched his fists. For the first time since the desert night, he felt doubt. Ya Allah, he whispered, why now? Shadows began to move at the edge of his vision. Tall, shapeless figures stood far away, silent, watching. They did not walk, but they were getting closer. His mind filled with regret, missed prayers, arrogant thoughts. Times he chose the world over Allah. The shadows whispered, you forgot who saved you before. You only remember Allah when you are weak. Each word cut deeper than a knife. Ayan covered his ears, but the voices came from inside his chest. His breathing became painful. He felt like his heart would explode. He remembered the story of the Battle of Badr from Surah Al-Anfal. The believers were few, afraid, poorly prepared, but they turned to Allah with complete trust. Ayan lifted his head toward the dark sky. If you helped them when they were weak, he whispered, help me now. The ground beneath him felt heavy. The shadows moved closer, their shapes twisting unnaturally. His fear reached its peak. Then, a deep calm entered his heart. Not from outside, from within. He remembered another verse. I will strengthen you with 1,000 angels. one after another. 8:9. The whispers stopped. The shadows trembled. Ayan realized something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. This was not a horror story about ghosts or monsters. This was a battle for his soul. His fear did not disappear, but his faith became stronger than his fear. He stood up slowly, his body shaking, but his heart firm. "I am not alone," he said aloud. The shadows screamed, not with sound, but with pressure, and vanished into the darkness. Ayan collapsed on the sand, crying deeply. Not from terror, from relief. That night, under a silent sky, Ayan made a promise to Allah. "I will return. I will fight myself. I will not run again." Far away, the wind began to move again. The first night of the real battle had ended. Part 2. The Battle You Cano. Ayan woke up before dawn, lying on the cold desert sand. For a moment, he thought everything had been a dream. But his clothes were covered with dust, his eyes were swollen from crying, and his heart felt strangely awake, like something inside him had been shaken hard. He stood slowly and looked around. The desert was calm now. No shadows. No whispers. Only the soft sound of wind. Yet, fear had not completely left him. It had changed its shape. As he walked back toward the town, one thought repeated in his mind. The battle is not over. That day, Ayan tried to return to his normal life. He took a shower, prayed far after a long time, and sat quietly in his room. The prayer felt heavy but honest. He did not feel happiness. He felt responsibility. From that day onward, strange things began to happen. Not outside, but inside him. When he tried to pray, his mind attacked him. What's the point? You will fail again. This change won't last. These voices were not loud like the whispers in the desert. They were calm, logical, and dangerous. Ayan soon realized something terrifying. The shadows had not disappeared. They had moved into his thoughts. Days passed. Nights became harder. Whenever he closed his eyes, memories returned. Sins he thought Allah would never forgive, moments he felt ashamed of, words he wished he could take back. The horror now was emotional and psychological. One night, Ayan woke up suddenly, unable to breathe. His chest felt tight, as if someone was sitting on him. His room was dark, but he felt watched. He tried to move. He couldn't. Fear flooded his body. Then he remembered. Allah is with the believers. With great effort he whispered, Audu billahi min ash-shaytan rajim. The pressure slowly lifted. Ayan sat up, shaking. Sweat covered his face. He understood now. This was the invisible war. Surah Al-Anfal was not only about a physical battle. It was about discipline, obedience, patience, and trust when fear surrounds you. At the Battle of Badr, the believers did not win because of numbers or weapons. They won because their hearts were connected to Allah. Ayan looked at himself. His heart was still weak. And the test had just begun. The next morning, trouble arrived. Ayan received an email from his main foreign client. The project he depended on was cancelled. No warning. No explanation. His income was gone. Panic returned like a storm. This is what happens when you become religious, a voice inside him said. Look what you lost. Anger mixed with fear. Ayan clenched his fists. For the first time since the desert night, he felt doubt. Ya Allah, he whispered, why now? Days later, more loss followed. Friends stopped calling. Some mocked him. You've changed too much. You're becoming extreme. Loneliness wrapped around him like darkness. At night, the whispers returned stronger. You are alone. Allah helped people in the past, not you. Ayan opened the Quran with shaking hands. His eyes fell on Surah Al-Anfal again. And Allah did not make it except as good news and to reassure your hearts. 8:10. His eyes filled with tears. Reassurance. Not comfort. Not ease. But reassurance in the middle of fear. Ayan realized something painful. Faith does not remove tests. Faith gives strength to survive them. One night, exhaustion took over. Ayan dreamed again. He saw himself standing on a battlefield, this time clearly. Broken swords lay on the ground. Bodies surrounded him, but they were not dead soldiers. They were versions of himself. One was proud. One was arrogant. One was careless. One was hopeless. Each version looked at him with angry eyes. "Choose," they said together. Ayan fell to his knees. "I choose Allah," he cried. A powerful light filled the battlefield. The versions began to disappear, one by one. Ayan woke up crying, but smiling. For the first time, he felt a small victory. But Surah Al-Anfal warned him. Victory is from Allah alone. Not from effort. Not from intention. After the night of surrender, Ayan believed the worst was over. He was wrong. Life did not soften. Instead, it pressed harder, like a hand testing how much pressure his heart could survive without shattering. Every morning began the same way. He woke before sunrise, his eyes heavy, his chest tight. The room felt empty, even when light entered through the window. He prayed far, not with peace, but with discipline. He stood, bowed, and prostrated even when his heart felt dry. After prayer, he opened his laptop. Emails. Applications. Silence. Rejections became routine. Some were polite. Some were cold. Some never came at all. Each unanswered message whispered the same fear. You are failing. Money slowly disappeared from his savings. Bills waited patiently. Pressure grew quietly. At night, loneliness attacked without warning. His phone stayed silent. Friends who once laughed with him now avoided him. When they did meet him, their smiles felt forced. You've changed, they said. Yes, Ayan replied softly. I had to, but inside, doubt moved like poison. One evening, exhaustion finally broke him. He sat alone on his bed, staring at the wall, anger boiling inside his chest. I am trying to obey, he said loudly. So why does it feel like punishment? No answer came. Only silence. That silence was heavier than screams. A few days later, a new test arrived, sharp and personal. Ayan discovered that his closest childhood friend, someone he trusted like family, had betrayed him in a financial matter. Money that Ayan desperately needed was gone. Calls were ignored. Messages unanswered. Shock turned into pain. Pain turned into humiliation. Humiliation turned into rage. That night, Ayan couldn't pray. His body was present, but his heart refused to bow. He sat on the prayer mat, fists clenched, tears falling silently. Why do you take everything from me? He whispered. The question frightened him. Because it was dangerous. That night, the dream returned, stronger, clearer, and more terrifying than before. Ayan found himself standing in a narrow valley under a blood-red sky. The air was thick, difficult to breathe. On one side stood figures dressed in light. Obedience, patience, prayer, sacrifice. Their faces were calm, but serious. On the other side stood shadows glowing with false comfort. Wealth, ease, pride, pleasure. They smiled warmly. Come back, the shadows said. Life was easier with us. "Stay," said the light. "Allah is testing you." The ground shook violently. Ayan screamed, "I can't do this anymore." The valley cracked. He woke up gasping for air, his body shaking violently. For the first time, a terrifying thought entered his mind. What if I give up? The thought alone made his chest hurt. The next day, while walking aimlessly through the streets, Ayan passed by a mosque. Without planning, his feet stopped. He entered quietly and sat at the back, unseen and unnoticed. An old imam was speaking softly to a small group. His voice was calm but firm. He recited from Surah Al-Anfal, "O you who believe, obey Allah and His Messenger and do not turn away while you hear." 8:20. The words struck Ayan like a blade. Obedience. Not understanding. Not comfort. Just obedience. Tears streamed down his face. He finally understood something painful and powerful. Faith is not proven when life is easy. Faith is proven when you are exhausted, angry, and still choose Allah. That night, Ayan prayed like a broken man. His forehead pressed hard against the ground. "I don't understand your plan," he whispered. "But I trust you." This prayer was not a request. It was surrender. Days turned into weeks. Slowly, discipline replaced emotion. He prayed even when he felt nothing. He stayed away from sin even when desire screamed. He learned silence instead of complaint. One night, the whispers returned, but weaker. "You are wasting your life." Ayan opened his eyes and replied calmly, "I am saving my soul." The darkness pulled back. Ayan finally understood the lesson of Surah Al-Anfal. Victory comes after obedience. And patience is the weapon of believers. He had survived the breaking point, but the final test was still waiting. After surviving the breaking point, Ayan felt something inside him settle. Not happiness, not relief, but a calm so deep that it seemed almost unreal. The fear that had once controlled his chest, that had twisted his nights into nightmares, had receded. His problems had not vanished. Bills waited on the table, his career remained uncertain, and life still demanded effort and patience. Yet his heart no longer quivered at the thought of uncertainty. For the first time, Ayan understood the difference between comfort and peace. Comfort is fleeting, dependent on circumstances, external outcomes, and the world's approval. Peace, however, comes from trusting Allah even when the world seems to collapse around you. Every morning before Fajr, he woke to the serene silence of the hour. This quiet no longer frightened him. It invited reflection. He performed his ablution slowly, savoring each movement, feeling the water wash away the remnants of fear and doubt. On the prayer mat, he stood, bowed, and prostrated with deliberate care, each motion a conversation with Allah. He no longer prayed for solutions or ease. He prayed for strength, patience, and the endurance to remain steadfast. The Quran lay open on his desk, Surah Al-Anfal resting in its center. One verse resonated in his heart repeatedly, "And victory is only from Allah." 8:10. He murmured it under his breath, over and over, as if it were a shield against doubt, fear, and the whispers of his nafs. Ayan realized the depth of this truth. Victory was never about material success, wealth, or social approval. True victory was surviving the storm without losing one's faith. Days passed quietly, marked by discipline and silent resilience. Ayan focused on his daily routine, maintaining his prayers, reading the Quran, and reflecting on his past actions. But the true test had yet to arrive. It came unexpectedly, silently, and with immense emotional weight. One evening, Ayan's phone rang. The name displayed on the screen made his chest tighten. His childhood friend, the very friend whose betrayal had shattered his trust months earlier. The memory of that loss, humiliation, financial strain, and sleepless nights flashed before his eyes. He felt a familiar surge of anger, a thirst for revenge that was almost intoxicating. He hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen. The easy path beckoned. Ignore the call, hold grudges, let the friend feel the pain he had once felt. But a deeper, quieter voice inside him urged, "Answer." Ayan took a deep breath and pressed the call button. The voice that greeted him was shaky, almost broken. "I destroyed everything," his friend confessed quietly. "I lost my job. My family doesn't trust me anymore. I have nothing." Silence followed. Then softly, almost as a whisper, came the words that Ayan had longed to hear but never expected. "I am sorry." Anger flared. Pain, humiliation, and betrayal rose like a tidal wave within him. He had every reason to lash out. His ego whispered, "This is your moment. Now you can punish. Make him feel what you felt." Ayan closed his eyes and remembered the lessons of the Battle of Badr. The believers had power over their enemies, yet they obeyed Allah's commands. They did not let ego guide their actions. They did not act from revenge. He inhaled deeply, feeling a quiet strength seep into his chest. This was the true battlefield, not of swords or numbers, but of the heart. "I forgive you," Ayan said, each word deliberate, heavy with meaning. The silence that followed was profound. The friend's sobs filled the line. Ayan listened quietly, the weight of his past pain slowly lifting. For the first time, he felt a liberation that no worldly success could bring. That night, Ayan prayed longer than ever. He did not ask for material gain, for comfort, or for recognition. He only thanked Allah for guidance, for the strength to endure, and for the wisdom to forgive. Tears flowed freely, cleansing years of pain and doubt. He understood that submission, patience, and forgiveness were far greater victories than any worldly achievement. Days later, an unexpected message appeared in his inbox. A foreign company, having reviewed his earlier applications, extended an offer: a stable position with better pay, career growth, and respect. Ayan stared at the screen in disbelief, his heart swelling, not with excitement for the money, but with awe at the timing. Allah's plan had unfolded perfectly, at a moment when his heart was ready, and not before. He remembered the nights of despair and understood that he had never been abandoned. The tests had prepared him for this moment, and his patience had been the true currency of success. Weeks passed. Life slowly stabilized. Not perfect, but steady. Ayan continued his prayers, readings, and reflections. He remained vigilant, aware that the heart can quickly drift back into neglect. He revisited the desert where his journey had begun, the place of his first night of terror. The wind was gentle, the sky clear. No shadows waited for him, no whispers. Only silence, and it felt safe. Ayan stood alone, gazing at the horizon. "I was never alone," he whispered to the wind, the desert, and to himself. In that quiet moment, he realized the true horror of his journey had never been external. It was never the shadows or the desolate desert. The darkness had always been a heart disconnected from Allah. The most formidable battles were not fought with swords, but within the soul. The greatest victory, Ayan understood now, was not the worldly successes, nor the resolution of financial instability, nor even the forgiveness of a friend. The ultimate triumph was the return, the conscious, deliberate return to obedience, trust, and surrender to Allah. Final moral reflection. Fear will come. Loss will come. Dark nights of uncertainty will come. Yet, when a believer holds steadfastly to obedience, patience, and trust, Allah's help will arrive precisely as promised in Surah Al-Anfal. True victory is not when life becomes easy. True victory is when the heart refuses to run from Allah, when faith persists through trials, when the believer stands firm in both surrender and action. Ayan had learned the lessons of patience, perseverance, surrender, forgiveness, and divine timing. His journey through darkness had forged a heart stronger than fear, wiser than pain, and deeply attuned to the guidance of Allah. This story is inspired by the spiritual lessons, struggles, and divine help described in Surah Al-Anfal.